Leon, welcome to Pickup's On The Move podcast. Thanks for coming into the office today to talk more about Order Kassie. Truly inspirational story. Tell us about how you started out.
Firstly, thanks for the invite. Really appreciate it. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. So I started out 2018, 2017. I moved into Nyanga, and while staying there, me and my mates went out. Next day we woke up, and we were hungover, and you know what, I crave like a solid breakfast, but none of us feels like driving. And asked my housemates, like, is there a place where we can order? And they were like, no, but that doesn't exist here. So like there was a spark of like why not, you know? So they said, no, you can make a phone call and order the meat or whatever you want, and then, but we have to go pick up, you know? So like, okay, cool. So we did that. And then I've always been interested in technology, and I've seen that the township market, because of assumptions such as there's no internet coverage or people can't afford data and so many other assumptions until you actually live there, you know, I saw like, no man, like what can this be done, you know? And then the next big point was probably because of crime, you know, so because I asked myself, why doesn't Mr. D or Uber Eats deliver or start, because it's a massive population, you know, and so it was the mapping issues and also crime. And for us, we felt that that's not a major reason to not tackle this, you know. So yeah, I went to speak to owners and the townships, asked them like, what would you think about such a system, such a service? And it was actually from the response from the owners that really gave me that oomph, you know, because they were like, please, you know, please, because they were saying they have certain clientele they deliver for, that order for a certain amount, but then once they deliver, they're not cooking, because now they're the chef and the delivery guy, you know. And a lot of people don't understand that the delivery side of things, it's a whole business by itself. You can't do the one thing together, like the food side and the delivery side. So yeah, that's how we got things kicking. And it was before COVID, which obviously that gave us a bigger demand and stuff. So I was really just learning on the flywheel, and yeah, it was challenging, but yeah, we pushed it.
Sounds like entrepreneur wakes up, problem, solve it. Something I think many entrepreneurs have born into businesses through solving the problem. I think the one thing that interests me is you know, your understanding the problem with not getting food delivered there, going out into the market and doing research with the restaurants. How important was that to sort of tying the whole business model together, not just yourself needing to get the delivery, but actually solving a problem for the restaurant owner where he could potentially get more business? You know, they only rely on walk-in customers or sit-down customers. Now there's a whole other market that's, you know, outside of the townships that's booming, Uber Eats, Mr. D, but in the townships, it's not just you wanting the order, it's the restaurant owners that there's a whole other industry that's booming outside of the townships. Connecting those dots, how important was it to actually forming your business model?
So really the cornerstone and the crucial part that like was that light bulb was from that market research. You know, like I said, when I spoke to the owners, and we did, after speaking to owners, we did some, I think like we spent like 1,500 Rand on just ads, just asking people, like, would you use such a service, you know? And that was on Facebook. So the ad ran and finished, and then I had a post, organic post that I just posted, and the thing just kept on getting attraction, like, when will this start? At that time, I had no platform, I had nothing. It was just purely market research. And the response was so overwhelming from the community, from the business owners. And it really became a no-brainer to me. Like, it was just like, so you've got the merchants and you've got the customers and they want this, and the hurdle is the mapping and the crime.
Yeah.
And once we communicated with the merchants and how things about the township communities, how they're structured, is that the restaurant owners are people who've been in business for many years and they have this respect. So that solved our crime side of thing, is because they knew that they're behind what we're doing, because if someone messes with our drivers or whatever, it's their business. So it wasn't me being hardcore, it was basically just working with the community leaders, the owners, and creating that feeling of ownership, that this is their platform.
I think that's very important, and I think some of the challenges we as Picup have certainly faced in the years of attempting to go in and assist with deliveries in the townships is the crime aspect. Not so much the crime in the parcel or packages that has been moved. It's the crime that the rider, his bike, his personal assets, and that's a big thing. Let's talk more about. I'm interested to learn more about the restaurant owner taking sort of ownership of working with them, so that they can feel like they are their owners in part of the process, and then in turn, the community around there know that this rider working with Order-Kasi is focused on these communities of merchants. Talk more about that, and how important is that in the whole equation?
So without that, it would be impossible to operate in the townships. So I like giving an example of Langa Township. So if you go to Langa any given day, you will find tourists from everywhere walking around with their cameras on them, and everyone in the community knows that you do not touch those tourists because they bring money into the community. It's a whole understanding. So if you penetrate the townships in that manner, where you sell that this is your platform, you see. So for example, with Order-Kasi, we strictly hire local community members to do our deliveries. We work everything from, whether it's from the person who knocks at the door for marketing or handing out flyers, everything has to be within the community that you're operating in. So that builds that it's their product, it's their business, you see. So that has really helped us being able to operate in such, because it is risky, it is very risky. I know of people who've tried to duplicate the model, and because of that, there's extortion, it's a whole monster. You need to get that buy-in from the community to make it.
It sounds like it's also organic growth. Like it's all very well thinking you can scale and going to every township, but you've really got to bring your business model into a closed community, build trust, and then sort of build the blocks and really grow from there. How, working with Langa and the communities there, how have you found expanding to other areas? Has it been a challenge, and what do you do to sort of achieve that same trust with those merchants in other areas? What is the cornerstone to the success of that?
So what we've seen is that it's always starting with the merchants. Like I said, those merchants have been operating for many years. So once people associate your business with their business, the trust is built. They know, okay, he works with Uncle whoever, because in the townships and with black communities, it's a whole thing of it's a family type of thing. So if you're an outsider, it's difficult, but once someone vouches for you, you've got that foot in the door, then you're able to operate.
And how long is that generally? Like is there a time frame in which you got to start working with the merchants to actually build that trust?
So my hack was, again, going back to dealing with local people, is that I would get someone to do the introduction. So it's not like a cold call or me just rocking up at their premises. I will speak to someone who's already known in the community and then have them go with me to introduce me, because I'm from KZN and this is now Cape Town. So it's like I'm the stranger. So my hack was to work with people who are relevant to communities, open those doors up for me, have a conversation and see and explain to them what the value that will bring. And from there, because of the introduction made by someone that they know and who's trustworthy in the community, and they see the value that we will bring. And for example, I'll reference a township we're already operating. Like, look how many people we've hired for drivers, this and that, and here's what we've done for them. You know, then from there, it's just, yeah, it becomes quick.
That's great. It sounds that organic growth is something that's very relevant in what you're saying. Mm-hmm. The riders, onboarding them onto your platform. I know we've spoken many times with Picup and Qwabe working together, and the modes of vehicle that they sign up to, is it motorbikes, is it cars? How do you manage that process in the township areas?
So when we rolled out, our whole business model was based on food delivery. So we wanted to be the Uber Eats or Mr. D's for townships. We ran that. So Qwabe, we are self-funded, so like it's all bootstrapping, and we were under an incubator called the Qwabe Village. They gave us a grant of 80,000 K. Yeah. So we went through that, doing our pilots, everything, working with guys on scooters, and we reached a point where we saw, okay, look, the food thing does actually work, but it needs massive capital to really get that snowball going. You see, because it's marketing after marketing. It's educating people in the township who've never used Mr. D or Uber Eats that you can now order food on an app and deliver to you, you know? So it's very capital intensive. From those learnings, that's when we picked up that, look, we've got the delivery network and we've kind of gained the trust in regards to safety and crime. And so that's when we opened up our eyes, like, look, why don't we use our network for last mile delivery? So answering your question in regards to scooters and vehicles, we now are, I could probably say 100%, it's vehicles. We no longer use scooters because now we've focused on last mile delivery. Yeah.
Right, I see that there was a pivot towards more last mile delivery in the townships, which is it's a huge requirement for the e-commerce industry. You know, the post office isn't operational in many areas anymore, and the requirement for entrepreneurs, business owners like yourself to actually go in and actually solve the problems is super important, because solving the problems is building a sustainable model that you can duplicate from day to day, month to month, and that's, I think, very important and a recognizable aspect of what you've done with Qwabe. Those cars, are they signing up to the platform? How do you market to the opportunity to drivers in the various areas that you're activating?
Yeah, so for those cars, we basically use the I'll call it the Uber model, where it's people own their own vehicles. We use social media to actually reach out, and we had already built a brand through the food delivery. So at least the people knew our name, everything like that. We also leveraged the relationships we already had with the community leaders. And the beauty about it was that, it's hard that I'm saying the beauty about it because it's linked to COVID, but during COVID, e-commerce became major, you know, when stores were shut down, everything like that. So we had a lot of people who lost their jobs. They've got cars and stuff, you know. So now we came along, and I think timing helped us when we did that pivot. It was just purely timing that was on our side, because we had like 85 drivers setting up, like with their own vehicles, everything, you know. And what also was fortunate for us was the demand was also high, you know, because I think like our drivers are averaging from Monday to Friday, like 10K, you know, like a week. And compared to what most people who are living in the townships are earning, maybe it could be call centers, they're making about 7,000 a month or 8,000. Now they're making that per week using their cars. So I would say luck and timing was on our side.
And certainly solving those problems. I think that you talk about that relationship between Order-Kassie and the merchants is super important. How do you see that relationship, not just with the local merchant? How are you establishing the relationships with companies that are needing to access delivery, last mile delivery in the townships? And what are your plans to scale that nationally?
Yeah, so next year, our main focus is two things. So one, we've become like the last mile delivery service, but we're looking at also still going back to tech. So we want to become a marketplace. So not just doing food delivery, but let's say you've got a hardware store, you've got a t-shirt shop, you know, because we've got our fleet operating every time within the area. So our game plan right now is to create a marketplace for all these township businesses to plug into this marketplace, and then we utilize our fleet. Because what we did is we've got this massive delivery network, and every time we're trying to get work for them. And now we've hit the point that, okay, listen, let's just create the work ourselves. Let's create a marketplace, you know. Now, in regards to the merchants that we have and relationships that we have with them, is to also, when we expand our offering for last mile delivery, is that we can now use our merchants as a pickup point.
Right.
You know, so now a parcel goes to them, they make money from just on that parcel, it gets picked up. So it's an ongoing relationship with the community. Even though we've pivoted from food delivery, we're still working with them. You know?
And it sounds like it's very much an evolving model. The importance of the model actually evolving to the aspect that your merchants, you can use them for collection points. The growth of that in the townships, I think a lot of e-commerce players, you know, we've got Amazon coming to South Africa. I'm sure they're scratching their heads and trying to understand how can we tap into the townships, to last mile delivery in the townships. I think is that a big growth driver for you in terms of looking at like bigger platforms, bigger marketplaces, and connecting with them as well in your vision for building a marketplace?
Big time. It's the main cornerstone of it, because we're fully aware with Amazon coming in, it's going to make things very interesting, you know, with Takealot and Amazon. So we know, okay, our thinking is that at some point they're going to say, we need someone who's penetrated the township market and it's got a solid network. So that made us change our gear, you know, to the resources that we have, the merchants we have, the relationships that we have. How do we position ourselves for next year and going forward, not just to be a plug-in of last mile delivery, but then on a higher scale of these other people who you would say are the township delivery experts. You know, we want that when Amazon or Takealot are competing, that they come speak to us, like, look, we want to penetrate the township, how can we work together?
Sure, yeah. And something we've learned, and like I mentioned earlier, we've learned over the time is that it is challenging, and you really need to be in it every single day, understanding, connecting the dots, as I mentioned, and building a solid platform. And it really sounds like you guys are creating a nice effect through the townships. Currently, where are you operational in South Africa? And I mentioned, what are your plans to scale into other parts of South Africa that you're not currently operating in?
So we basically in every township in Cape Town, because not only do we do parcel deliveries, we also work with Food Forward. They do like your food parcels like for the elderly, the sick people. So we're doing that. And yeah, so I'd say our reach in Cape Town, we're basically in every major township. Next year, our goal is to hit Durban. And then that's going to be around March. And then December to hit Gauteng.
And that's great. I think on one of the other podcasts we had Craig Atkinson from Green Riders, and I know you guys have been speaking with them. I think the synergies that Picup, Auticassi and Green Riders all connect together really create a sort of ecosystem where there's a tech platform, there's a delivery as a service operator in the townships operating. There's a electric mobility company that is providing assets to riders to actually earn. That story in itself is something that is huge for South Africa. Entrepreneurs coming together to actually provide a means to get last mile delivery done for the likes of maybe an Amazon one day, other merchants. The more consistency we provide in something like that, I think it'll go a long way to actually providing a good service into the townships, and something that has been lacking in South Africa over the years. Leon, very exciting to have you on the show today. I look forward to working more with you and your team, to growing across South Africa. Tell me one thing before we close. If for someone starting a business in the townships, what is the single most important thing you've learned in starting your business that you can advise to someone else starting their business in a township, whether it be Cape Town, Joburg, KZN?
I'd say it's two things, right? And they both related. So the number one is building relationships, and the other one is partnerships. So like as you mentioned about Craig, yourself, you know what I mean? It's a massive mountain, and it's exciting that companies from abroad are coming in, you know, like Uber, whatever, Amazon. However, I've got this passion of that. As South Africans, we can nail this. You know what I mean? Like if we work together, we can do this, you know? But I would say, yeah, relationships with the community, and then partnerships. Don't think that working with someone who's in a similar industry, you think it's competition. No, those partnerships will take you way far.
Sure, and time, I think none of this stuff happens overnight. Forming partnerships is fundamental to building a reliable team, whether it be a team of people in your own business or a team of people across businesses. I think super important. Very excited to work with you, Leon. Thanks for being with us today, and good luck moving forward.
Thanks, man.